How's it going, guys? So, our prompt for this week was to talk about why the holistic way of viewing apologetics or a holistic apologetic is appealing and talk about kind of what it is. Based on our reading in chapter 8, there's those three anthropological models of human beings and how we are thinking and believing and desiring beings. And as I was kind of, going through the course material and reading through it, I was taking those three categories and began to understand how when we present apologetics that it's kind of through those three that people take in the information that we give them. And so thinking about apologetics in a holistic way, as I was considering what that looks like, I thought that there's lots of different subcategories of apologetics and how we can do apologetics differently depending on what one of those categories we're kind of aiming for. For example, somebody who's very philosophical and thinks a lot about morality and thinks a lot about reason and rationality in how we think and feel as people. And our approach to them with apologetics is going to be a little bit different than somebody who's maybe they have their worldview based kind of more around logic and evidence and science, and being able to kind of learn apologetics in that holistic way to be able to give a defense for the faith in any of those areas, I think is super important. Because if we're really dead set on just tackling like the gap between Jesus and philosophy, and we kind of ignore things in the history side of things or the evidence and the science side of things, then we're leaving out a group of people that we could be giving a defense for our faith for. So, coming at it with a holistic viewpoint, this like learning about all of apologetics at once, and how we can tackle conversations too in things like our culture, I think is super important. And being able to go through, if you're walking through the streets, you can, coming into contact with different people, you'll realize that everybody kind of has a different worldview that's based on their own way of seeing things. And ultimately, it all comes back to like those main three categories of like we're thinking. So when we present apologetics, we have to do it with this idea of, okay, we think logically, we think about evidence, we think about science, we all have our own sense of common sense, but where do things like that come from? And then we're believing. There are a lot of people out there that don't hold to the Christian faith, and yet they have this belief that there is a higher power out there and that there is a God who created everything, and yet they don't know what it looks like, but they have this natural sense in them to believe in something. And then there's desiring, and I was thinking about desiring as a way of doing apologetics that targets that kind of area of us being desiring beings, would be to really explain and live out the goodness of our faith, and kind of that practical living out type of apologetics, showing that a relationship with God is desirable and that it does give us that abundant life that a lot of people naturally desire. They just don't know what it is yet. So that's my take on chapter 8 and what a holistic apologetic kind of looks like.